Welcome to All Things Real Estate on Full Service Radio, 830 WCRN. Now, here's your hosts, Gary Kelley and Brad Avergon.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to WCRN, AM 830 on your digital dial. I'm Gary Kelley. I'm with RE/MAX Executive Realty. This is All Things Real Estate. I'm joined, as always, by
Brad Avergon with Envision Mortgage.
So, Brad, it's November, which in some ways is kind of mind-boggling. I don't know why it's so mind-boggling. It's like this year has been a blur. I think between the COVID 2020 and 2021, everything's just become a blur. Maybe it's my advancing age. I don't know. But as we start to wind down the year and start to look at November and start to look at things like Thanksgiving, it's a time for thanks.
Agreed. It's interesting, Gary. It's been a blur in some ways, but been a very long year in others.
Well, you've had a lot of things happening in your world with your boys.
Yeah. Both my sons got married. One right before COVID, one during COVID, twice. Once was the front lawn wedding, and the other one was the reception, which we squeezed in June before, when the numbers were pretty sweet. We lucked out with that, so it's been good.
That's an exciting time, isn't it?
It is indeed, Gary. It is indeed. It's been a real. It's been interesting to see how we've all kind of adjusted to the COVID world. You know, you become very grateful for little things, and I will tell you honestly, I was grateful at the first wedding. You know, we had 35 people there masking up, and we're on a friend of mine's front lawn, and it was great. And I was grateful that union could even take place. There you go. But even more so in June of this year, when we actually had the delayed reception, and my family came in from California. I got this chance. I haven't seen my brother and sister in 2 years prior to that, and
Wow.
we were able to get together, and I was able to see them, and so it was special. The hugs were a little longer.
You know, one of the things that's fun about being in real estate, and I want to piggyback off of that, and your kids getting married this year, is my colleague Sue Gordon and I went out last night actually and saw clients that had bought a home with us, first-time buyers, and now they've introduced a child to the home.
Nice.
And it's, we went over there. Sue is out of control, right? The child is 5 months old, and Sue, it's like when she's with a dog, just has to run over, hold the child and everything else. And these people were absolutely cool with that. So that was nice, but it's fun to see the evolution of a young couple coming together, in this case, a young couple coming together and having children and getting to be a small piece of that.
You know, it's really interesting, Gary, when you think about it. You know, here we have this mega event, this pandemic that happened like we've never seen before. And people adjusted. They adjusted. Families go on. People get married. People have babies. They move forward and they adjust. And wonderful things can happen during a pandemic, which is kind of a cool blessing when you think about it. You know.
Did you know that from being alive during the Spanish Rebellion and all that?
Yeah, no, I know I'm old. They're just not quite there yet. No, no, I was surprised actually. So many wonderful things. Like I mean, obviously the real estate thing really caught me off guard. I swear to God, when March hit, I go, well, people are locking themselves in. I'll see them in maybe a year. And they went out and bought homes. I thought they were going to hide in their caves, and I was 100% wrong.
I felt the exact same thing. I felt that I remember standing in a friend of mine's basement, and he was the first one, and this would have been in 2019, to say there's a virus coming. He is in financial services. Part of his job is to look at things like this. and I was over at his house. We were in his basement, and he's got all this water, all these provisions, and I'm like, are you like one of those prepper guys? And he says, no, this is coming. And he had the full-on face mask. And I would tell you that he had a baby during quarantine, so to speak. And but he was the first one, and I thought the same thing as you. I thought that people would just slam the brakes on and it was done for a while. And yeah, quite the contrary.
There's a lot of really good things that happened out of this. I mean, real estate interest rates dropped. The stock market saw all-time highs. So, minimum wages got raised in some cases. I mean, I don't want to minimize the amount of damage. There was a lot of damage. A lot of people still out of work, still trying to come back, and I don't want to minimize that. But if you look for my mother used to say, if you look for the blessings, if you look for the rainbows, there were quite a few, and
Right.
I was surprised.
Sue and I have a friend who happened to come down with COVID recently, and he had made the decision as an adult not to get vaccinated. It was not a political statement. He had looked at it and said, I'm concerned that this is going to mess up my DNA. And he ended up with COVID. He ended up at UMass and everything else. And it was touch and go for a bit. And you somewhere between, he should have gotten vaccinated and it's his choice. Everyone kind of falls down on that spectrum somewhere. And this was a case, you don't wish the guy ill. You don't wish the guy bad. And yeah, he's home now, and that's good, but he's still on oxygen, and that's tough situation. Who really struggled during this were buyers.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we had a number of buyers. I had I had a draw full of pre-approvals, and I would spend a fair amount of time kind of talking them off the ledge and say, okay, this is not you. This is not a reflection on you that your offer is no good. It's just in the market that we find ourselves, this crazy anomaly of a market that we haven't seen since yellow fever. You have to understand this is the environment we're in. So you need to be ready for that. You're going to make multiple offers. Things are going to go over asking. And if you want to play in that market, you can get a home, but you have to be willing to make some accommodations, either pay over asking or come up with, waive some contingencies that you might not normally want to wait. You also have the option to kind of step out and wait for us to come back to a more normal market. So, there was a lot of that back and forth because this was their first time in. And so they're like, what's going on? This is insanity. And I said, well, yes, it is insanity. But
it's like going into a boxing ring and just being the punching bag. Boom, boom, boom. The couple we were with the baby, they bought just as this was all kind of getting fired up, and they've been comparing notes with some of the, it's a more mature neighborhood that's, in my words, kind of turning over now. You've got people that are moving out, going to assisted living or whatever, and then you've got the people that are first time buyers moving in, and they're like, oh my God, we feel so fortunate because we didn't have to pay $100,000 over asking, which was kind of the market for a while. And there's still spots where that's happening, but that's a scary thought, is just going way in with that kind of thing.
The good news is that those people, even if they did pay $100,000, they may not be able to, if they had to sell today, they may not make all of that back. But in the long run, you've been in it long enough to see that, real estate always reaches its equilibrium. My belief is even the people that went over, as long as they hang on to the house for a few years, they're going to be fine. They'll make that money back over time. So, because you don't want to ever want to see anybody who got caught up in the fervor of a bidding war and that got out of control. And I've actually heard you talk to clients and say, look, don't get caught up in this. I gotta have it. If this is the right house for you, then this is the right house for you, and understand you may have to pay a little bit more, but over time it will equal out. If not the right house, let it go. Don't get caught up in that
Right.
emotion. And I think that was really great advice. I think it was
Well, it's hard because you see people that, they want to get into their house, they want to be comfortable and all that, and yet you just somewhere have this sense that maybe they're being a little too aggressive. Hey, Brad, let's leave on that thought. If someone wanted to reach you during the commercial break, how would they do that?
Best way to reach me, Gary, is via my cell phone, which is 978-375-5531, or by email at Avergon, that's BAVERGON, at envisionbank.com. And Gary, how do they reach you?
They can give me a call, 508-733-6005, or shoot an email to Gary@movewithgary.com. Brad, let's continue the conversation after the break. Let's pay some bills.
Sounds great.
You've been listening to All Things Real Estate on Full Service Radio, 830 WCRN.